Let's
Well
taste
said.
it. Oh my God, the nose on it.
It's really pretty. I also pick up a little bit of that licorice as well, which
That's
is sort
I'm
of
getting
or
red
fennel.
licorice in this.
Yeah, a fennel sort of character. That's sort of similar to that sassafras character.
Mhm. And I'm not even going to add anything. Because the way you described it is perfect.
So yeah, this vineyard is pretty close to us, actually. We also have a very small block. It's a 13-year-old vineyard, and you will be seeing Hartford Court label named Haley's block, and that's Don Hartford's daughter. So it's kind of neat that the Sorrento, which is our flagship wine, which is very highly rated and low production, and you'll also see as a label that's a smaller, almost like the daughter. So
I see. Very interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice. It's going to be a real pretty one.
A lot of nice spiciness on this too. I'm getting that red raspberry. That's up in the front here. Nice acidity to it. Again, these are all food wines too. They're complex, elegant, and expressive enough to just sit down and sip. I can just sit down with this bottle and that would be my event for the day. That could be my whole day. But really its purpose is for food, and you have this with a good meal. This is the type of wine that as your meal continues and you're tasting it, you're going to like it more and more. It's going to grow on you. Some wines, especially California wines to me, in the very beginning they taste good. That's why they do so well at tastings. But during the meal, I start getting bored with it.
Right, they fall flat.
Right,
These
where
just
French or
continue
Italian
on,
gets
yeah.
better, this has that nature
Right.
to it.
And I think, definitely because of the gentle handling, the minimal oxygen, the storage in French oak, I think that assists with the preservation of the fruit and that continual opening up of the fruit characters, because it hasn't been lost during production. It hasn't been lost during transport, and it has been lost during the whole process of cold soaking and ferment. So I think
That's
one reason.
very important, yeah. So it's like getting farm fresh fruit in a sense, as opposed to something from the supermarket in that way. I mean, it's a little off, but
Right.
I think I get that
That's
one.
a good analogy. Definitely.
Oh,
I sort of think of it as like you start out at 100 and you try and keep your score. You only go down from there. Little things along
so
the
if
way.
you can end up with a 98 at the end, you're doing very well.
That's the idea. Try not to go down too
Right,
much.
exactly. So this wine from Parker received 91. The O2 is 96, which we're totally sold out of, I believe. We
Probably.
might have a couple. No, I think we might have a couple bottles back in the library of the
Oh,
O2.
really?
But this is a typically very highly rated wine. So
Very.
we have an allocation on it here in the tasting room. 3 bottles per person for that reason.
Sounds delightful.
Here's the wine snob himself, actually loving California wines. This is the first, people. And I knew this would be the place to convert it.
No, we did say that. No, I don't drink California wine very much.
Wow.
Unless I'm with good friends who can find the ones that I can enjoy.
Well, I'm interested in any sort of feedback you have about the wines, because it has helped me in my, venture here.
Definitely, I can see that. In your job, and I do a lot of tastings back east too, and I worked retail too, is listening is a lot better than talking. If you hear all that, and it just equips you and gives you plenty of tools to work with.
Right.
Has a distinguished smell.
Well, this I'm getting more. I'm doing a Burgundy tasting, the Culinary Institute back east of all O2 Burgundies, Grand Cru and Premier. So I had a tasting with some of the people from the Wine Society, the Culinary Institute, a big major account by me, Mid Valley Liquors, great account, great store. The owner there, and Wendy Eber came too, and This has a lot of that, I almost call it, I don't mean it in a negative way, but a gaminess on the nose that I love, and that's the terroir that we pick up.
Right.
We had a premier cru, Gary Sheverton, that was, this reminds me of the nose on this. It's just,
Lovely, that's a nice comparison.
yeah, it is. I'll tell you, I would, in fact, next time I go to France, I'm bringing these wines with me to drink with people over there. When I meet the winemakers at Bertha, I'm going to break these out. I say, you want to see what my fellow countrymen are doing?
Excellent.
And that's a guarantee. I'm going to do that.
Sounds good to me.
They brought French burgundies with them for out here to taste.
Oh, really?
Not sure.
Die hard. Okay, so this is our 2002 Seascape Vineyard Pinot Noir. And this comes from our coldest vineyard site that we own. It's right on the edge of the ocean. As I said before, this vineyard ripens a full month later than any of our other vineyards. It ripens when a Cabernet Sauvignon would ripen. And so the fruit is much more intense and concentrated, and tannin is much more, structured, darker fruit like roasted plum. Of course, the backbone of the bean cherry has that smoke and a little bit of the sassafras cola character that you'll find in some coastal vineyards. So that's the 2002. And it has a nice earthy component too.
Just an incredible wine. This is more like the Arendelle vineyard was more like in the north of Burgundy, up in the Sheverton area.
Yeah.
This is more like a Chambon Moussigny. It's more feminine and stuff. Even though I know what you mean about more tannins, but I can see why you drank this second. But this has got some of that flawless smoothness that a Chambon Moussigny has to me. And I call it feminine in a sense. It's like a beautiful woman. It just like presents itself well. And enters the room with grace and leaves the room with grace.
It has an earthiness too, and it is a vintage, older than the 03 Arendelle. I think it's at times a mellow.
That's a good point, and I didn't think of that at first. That's exactly it. Because this one is a little more harmonious,
Yes,
a little more,
it is. A little rounder.
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah.
And
Just
it aged with
delicious.
Italian believe.
So what do you think of this?
Oh, I think it's amazing for such a young wine. I mean, this is the kind of wine I'd like to see in a few years. And actually see it through its process. And that's the fun of it, is when you take it from new all the way up. And even past. I like to go past, actually. Because I like to reminisce about when it was good.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's good to get a bottle in your cellar, let that go for quite a while, and then drink one every year if you can. That's a little bit tricky, but yeah.
He hasn't had many of them. I've been telling him, he mostly drinks French wine.
Oh, okay.
We call him the wine snob. One attribute of Pinot Noir that a lot of Pinot Noir nuts love is the nose itself, the aromas. Sometimes you don't even need to taste it. You can sit there with the aromas and take a sip every half hour. The rest in
You get so
between,
much
you
from the
just
aromas.
you
Yeah,
get so
true.
much.